In addition to simple select and totals queries, you can create crosstab queries in Access. When you run a crosstab query, the results returned resemble a spreadsheet. Normally when you run a query, you don't see any row headings because Access is simply returning records. A crosstab query allows you to define row headings and column headings. Let me show you an example. Move over to the navigation pane, right-click the very first query in here called QXTab Invoice Details. Right-click on it and select Design View. Here we have 3 tables: Table Invoice Headers, Table Invoice Details, and Table Report Groups. For me, it helps to ask a few questions when designing a crosstab query. What would I like to see on the left side of the query datasheet? This will be the row headings. What would I like to see across the top of the query datasheet? These become the column headings. Finally, what would I like to see in the fields? That becomes the value. If you see in the bottom of the query design window, we have a crosstab row. This crosstab row only appears when you select the crosstab button in the Query Type group on the Design tab. If I click on row heading, you see row heading, column heading, value, and not shown. If you have any fields selected as not shown, they will not show up in the query datasheet. But what I like to do is show the invoice ID as the row heading, the report group name as the column heading, and the report group amount as the value. If I click the Run button, let's take a look at the query. Notice we have invoice IDs on the left side of the query datasheet. Across the top, we have the names of each of our report groups: beef ribs, beer, beverages, and in the middle, we have these subtotals. These subtotals, if I scroll a little bit more to the right, you can see we have a subtotal for each invoice for each report group. Let me show you a second one. Right-click the top, select Close. The very next one down is QXTab Invoice Details by Vendor. I'd like you to right-click on this one and select Design View. Here we have 4 tables. Notice instead of invoice ID, I have vendor name listed as the row heading, report group name again as the column heading, and report group amount as the sum. Take a look at this one when you click the Run button, and I think you'll begin to see the power of a crosstab query. Now, the left side shows the vendor name, the top shows the report groups. If I scroll over to the right, you can again see the subtotals for each report group. So here I could easily export this information to Excel and even do further calculations on it. If we have Arvin's Lock Shop at the top, I can scroll over and visually see we've spent $45 on Arvin's Lock Shop in the repairs and maintenance report group. I'm going to slide back. I'm going to have you click External Data, move over to the Export group, and then click the Export command. This brings up the Export to Excel Spreadsheet dialog box. I'm going to have you click Export Data with Formatting and Layout and open the destination file after the export operation is complete. What I'd like you to see, if I click OK, is here is all of our information from our crosstab query exported into Excel. So I could easily add some sum fields on here if I'd like, or do further data analysis. Close this Excel spreadsheet and don't save the changes. When you come back, the last page of the Export Excel Spreadsheet wizard is still on the screen, so click the Close button to dismiss it. Finally, right-click and close this query. Crosstab queries are great for organizing groups of data, and they're very powerful.